When I was about 3 years old, my oldest sister Katie was diagnosed with autism. This being a relatively new disorder was somewhat of a shock to my parents. Of course, since I wasn't even able to form complete sentences yet, this didn't really have a terrible effect on me. When I was 6, I started to notice Katie develop certain habits. I started to ask questions like, what is it? Is this something you catch like a cold? Could I be autistic because my sister is? She was very irritable, didn't like to have much interaction with other people, and struggled to make friends. Her being my older sister by 4 years and having no friends seemed somewhat odd to me, considering that at the time I had several friends in my neighborhood that I would run around with. At about 7 or 8, I realized my sister was special. I didn't realize the gravity of the situation and in what way she was special until my mom took me, my little brother, and my other sister along with her and Katie to one of her appointments downtown because she couldn't find a babysitter. Sitting in the waiting room, staring at the white walls, trying to pass time and ignore my little brother who was trying to annoy me, I noticed something about the kids that were sitting in the room with us waiting to be called in by the doctor. All of them weren't very social, and I don't mean shy. I mean that they would stare at the ground in the daze as if their body was hollow, left vacant, and their minds were elsewhere. The same thing I would see in Katie sometimes when I would try to talk to her. She was there physically, but when you would try to converse with her, she would be staring off into the distance and sometimes not even respond or comprehend what you were saying. After that doctor's appointment, I started treating my sister differently. I gave her a little more patience that could have been used elsewhere, considering my brother was the Leonardo da Vinci of being annoying in the sense that he would create new and obscure but extremely effective vehicles and ways to annoy me in such a way that we would fight because of it over and over until my second year of high school. I don't know how I had so much patience for Katie, rather than my brother. I guess at a young age, I think I just understood she was special and she needs a little extra help, a little more time, a lot more patience to get things in. Even after all that, she could only grasp a fraction of what you were trying to teach her. But over time, I learned to appreciate those little fractions of knowledge because it means progress. I don't know if this furthered the understanding of her disorder, but it helped me further my understanding of the world. It gave me a little bit of perspective, and it let me see what others are dealing with. But the thing that I noticed most while I grew up next to my sister, taking steps with her, seeing her interact in public, I came to a somewhat disappointing conclusion about the world. Those with psychological disorders aren't worth the time for most people. For every stranger with patience to help my sister, there are 1,000 just passing by, turning the other cheek, or worst of all, watching her struggle and even laughing about it. And I've toiled with this in my head. I ask questions like, how can someone laugh at someone who's obviously struggling? Why are people so selfish? How can people be so cold? I used to get angry when I heard my sister was taken advantage of or made fun of at school. If I heard people talk shit about people in the special needs classroom, I instantly got on the defensive side, regardless of whether they were talking about my sister, some other kids with a disorder, or the class as a whole for being different. For so long, that's how I thought life was. Those who are special are considered the burden of society. People won't help those who need it the most without incentive. But over time, I started to notice that everyone isn't heartless, but some people take longer to find their inner compassion for their fellow man. What really caused me to start seeing this was when my other sister, who never had the patience for Katie, did something that surprised me. She went to some of my sister's friendship groups and truly tried to understand what my sister was going through. She even created a program at my school which I plan to implement this year, in which kids can go and sit with the special kids at their lunch for service hours to give them some perspective of what they're going through and also give the special kids some social exposure. This showed me after years of struggling with Katie and butting heads, failing to find a middle ground, she finally found her patience and compassion for Katie, even though they don't always get along. This proved to me that everyone has compassion for their fellow man somewhere inside them, somewhere deep down. But certain people find theirs quicker than others.